Thank you for joining. My name is Sharon, and what we're going to do today actually is to review the new features and enhancements that we have introduced in Sequence Kinetics 7.7 or Service Pack 7. So this webinar is it's not intended to be too technical, but rather an opportunity to find new ways to utilize Sequence and improve your business. We will not cover all the features or the new features in SP7, so if you want to have more information and to review things that we've talked about in this webinar, so you are welcomed to visit our members site and view the release notes for Service Pack 7. All right, so let's start with one of the key new features that we have in SP7, that is the Analytics. So what is Analytics? Well, Sequence Analytics is a cool new feature to visualize process metrics. Or in other words, it's some sort of a dashboard visualization tool for your application's key performance indicators, or what we call KPIs. Let's say that you have Sequence for a while and you've built your applications, great applications, and now you are wondering, we have some questions about you want to assess if the application is doing what it is supposed to do, or how can the business improve with your application. I'm guessing that in some organizations there might be central BI systems that show data in a very complex way. Or there might be someone who runs SQL queries and send the crunch numbers to relevant people on demand. Well, Sequence Analytics is exactly what you need in order to see what is going on in your application. It answers questions like where to focus resources, what is working well, what can be improved, and so on and so on. And the cool thing here is that you can accomplish it in just a matter of minutes and without writing any piece of code. Let's see how. For this webinar, we have pre-built a support application demo so we can introduce or demonstrate this analytics tool. Let me bring it on here. Here it is. So this is our demo support tool. Before seeing the analytics part of it, I'm going to show you a brief overview of the demo workflow application here. So as we said, this is an application. This is a support ticketing tool. So it starts with a form that collects information about the issue. Let me briefly show you how. I'll switch to the design view. Data about the issue, something like when was it created, who is the customer, on what environment do they see the issue, details about the issue, and so on and so on. And then the workflow goes around through the first, second, and third tier, and eventually the case is resolved and it reaches the case summary. Let me show you how it looks like. So here we have the solution details, how much time did we invest in it, and we have a subview for the first form just to give us all the details of how this issue started. Okay, so now that we know what the application is about, let's talk about the metrics that we might want to get from it. Let's say we want to get from it things like, where did I have this picture? Here. Let's say we want to view things like what is the average response time? And we can display it in a very nice gauge like this. We can view a chart of all the categories and their count. We can slice the data according to the urgency of the tickets. And we can also display, tickets per customer. So it's a very useful way of showing the data. This is what we call the analytics. Okay, so this is how it looks at the end. Let's see how we do it. It's actually quite simple, and this is what I want to demonstrate right now. In order to do that, Let me minimize all these windows here so we can start from fresh. There you go. Let's close this one too. Okay, so we said that we have the support ticketing workflow and we want to create analytics for this workflow. So it all starts from here, from the workflow space. On the right side, you can see that we have a new table here that is called Sequence Analytics. From here, you can create new dashboards or edit existing ones. For the purpose of this demo, let's start with showing you how it looks like with an existing one. So let's say I want to have a quarterly review dashboard. And the dashboard is built in a very intuitive way. You can see that it goes with you through 5 simple steps, starting with data view, then data filters, flow time dimensions, KPI, and visuals. You might also notice that the only mandatory steps required to create an analytics view is only the first and 5th step. So step 2, 3, and 4 are actually optional. Let me just explain a bit more about these steps. Well, in the first one, the data view, this is actually where you define the data, all the relevant data from the process. Okay, in our case, with the support ticketing workflow demo, we want things like what is the category of the ticket, what is the customer name, what is the time invested, and so on and so on. And very nicely, we can take all this information from the activity tree that we have here. And it's actually a familiar look for everyone who has been familiar with Sequence before. And if not, it is still very intuitive. You can see all the data coming from, let's say, from the case summary activity or case triage activity, and so on and so on. You can also access data from the metadata of the workflow itself. Okay, let's go on to the second step. So after we selected the data that we want, we can set filters for this data. Okay, setting filters means it is possible to screen out unnecessary data, and it's being done on the database level. So we can exclude data about closed processes or internal support tickets, just for example. The third step would be to define dimensions. A dimension in this context of sequence analytics is like a criterion. The criterion by which the end user can slice and dice the data. For example, we can slice the data according to when it was created or according to the customer name. And as you can already see, it's all being done with this UI. No code is required here. Let's move on to the fourth step. This is defining the KPIs. KPIs is, again, short for Key Performance Indicator. And this is actually how you define the look of the gauges. Remember when I showed you earlier, for example, this gauge here, you see how you have this green section here, the yellow section here, and this black section at the end. So the colors and the values or the limits of those colors are defined here in the KPI step. All right, and the last step, actually this last step, that would be the visuals. Here in the visual step, what you are required to do is actually to define which representation you would like for all the indicators that we've defined earlier in this procedure. For example, we can decide that the tickets per customer will be presented in a column chart, and we can decide that the average response time would be displayed or presented in a gauge chart. And we can also define many other things. I will show you shortly how to do it. Okay, so basically that's it. 5 steps, and then all you need to do is publish your analytics definition, and once this is done, you have a new page in your SharePoint site that displays your analytics. So how cool is that? Let's see, just for the sake of this demonstration, let's see how we create a new one just from scratch. Okay, we'll start again. Let me close this so you will believe me that this is brand new. Let's close this and go back here. Let's create a new one. Okay, starting again with the workflow space, I'm going to create a new dashboard. I'm going to call it Quarterly Summary Demo 4. No reason for 4, just a nice number. Okay, and immediately we are directed to this page. And here in the data view, we can select all the data that we need. For instance, from the case triage activity, we would like to take information or data like the customer name, like the urgency, all right, like the created at date, and the customer name. Let's take also the customer name. Oh, I took it already. Sorry. Did I take the category? No. Let's take the category too. Okay, so just double clicking the fields here in this activity tree already populates the fields that I need here. And of course, I can edit the captions and change the names so it will be easier for me to display it as I need it. Okay, and then after defining this, let's define the visuals that we might find interesting for us. Okay, I'm going to skip steps 2, 3, and 4 and go straight to step number 5. And I'm going to define a new chart. Okay, so in this new chart, I'm going to give it a name. For example, let's take ticket per customer. Okay, and for the x-axis, I want to have the customer name. Okay, and for the y-axis, I want to have, sorry, the customer name. I think I had to, also, I'm sorry, I think I missed something here. You see how nice it is? On the data view, what I actually wanted to take as well is the workflow instance ID from the metadata. This is very important for me because I will perform count function on this data. So now let's go back to the visuals. And here, while I'm editing this, on the y-axis, I want to take the workflow instance ID count. So now for each customer, I will know how many tickets this customer opened. Okay, and here I can also choose the type of the chart. I'll just take the basic one for this presentation. I can choose to show the data labels. And basically, that's it. Let's add a new chart. For this new chart, I'm going to give it a name like ticket per category. And I'm going to choose for the x-axis, I'm going to choose the category. And again, the workflow instance ID. Okay, let's say that for this chart, I would like to use something else. Let's choose, let's see what we have here. Let's choose just the pie. This is a 3D pie. Let's take that one. Okay. And again, basically, that's it. Let's show the data label. So it'd be nice. Let's also show a legend. We can choose where to locate the legend. Let's take bottom center. And that's it. Let's create a new one. You see? Quite easy. And we can go on and on and on. Ticket per month. Okay, we can say that this would be a line type of chart. For this, we will take the created at. We can select the format of the date. It could be just month and year. And here again, we'll choose the workflow instance ID. And let's say that we want, yeah, the basic one seems quite nice for us. Show the data. And that's about it. And the last chart. Let's take ticket per urgency, which is always interesting to see how many tickets we have that are critical and which are not so critical. Okay, in here we will choose the urgency data field, and let's take another shape. This is a nice round shape here. Again, let's set a legend here. The legend will be, let's say, top center. And in here we will need to choose the workflow instance ID. Again, we are counting how many tickets or how many workflow instance IDs we have for each urgency. So that kind of makes sense. Very intuitive. Okay, now, so at this point we defined the data that we need and we defined the visuals that we have. Basically, that's it. All we need to do from now is click the Publish button. And we need to give it a name. Let's say that this is our webinar demo, and we can choose the layout. You see, this the analytics feature already gives us an option to choose the layout because it will build the layout for us. So for this example, we need a layout with 4 web parts. We can choose their order with those 2 arrows. And we can just click Publish. We will let it crunch up all the finishes that we've made. And in a minute, I will also explain what happens in the background when this is working. It should be finished any minute now. There you go. The dashboard was successfully published. Nice, very nice. Okay, all that's left to do is go to our SharePoint flow time page. And from here, what we need to do is to go to All Dashboards. And under the All Dashboards list, you will find all the analytics that you configured in your site. Okay, so the last one is just right here. This is the webinar demo. See, I clicked it. I have this indication here that it's working. And we'll just wait a few more seconds and we will see the result of our work. That looks really nice. So you see that in a matter of something like 10 minutes while I was talking, I was able to create a very nice analytics page for my process. and it can be very useful for all kinds of purposes, whether for management purposes, or just to display the users, that they can see where are the highlights of the process or the downsides of the process. Useful information like who is the busiest customer, things like timelines, things like deviations for categories, and so on and so on. Okay, let's go back and talk a little more about the data filters, the flow time dimension, and the KPIs. Now, I wouldn't want to take too much time from this webinar to define them, but at the same way that you saw me defining the data view and the visuals, we can define the other steps. I'm going to take another analytics form from my list here, just to show you how it's done. Okay, so this is very similar to what we just created. Again, in the KPIs, we can say which colors we want and what would be the limits for these colors for the gauges. Okay, so let me delete these ones here and create new ones. So let's say that we want for the gauges for the support response time. So let's say that if the average, or if the indicator is between 0 days to 5 days, we say that this is a very fast response time and we are happy with it. This is with the green color. We can add a new range here. We can give it the yellow color. We can call it something like normal. We can say that between 6 days to, let's say, 8 days, this is a normal response time. And we can say that a bad response time would be something between 9 days and let's take 100. You see? Very nice. You can normal. I forgot to enter the description. And quite easily you can define your own set of colors for the gauges. Once I publish it, once this is published, let's go back to our demo. Once this is published, you will see a new, you'll see all the new limits and colors that you defined in the gauge. This is just working on it, and then you'll be able to see the gauge. You see? So all the colors that you defined will be shown in here. Just to save us a bit of time, I'm skipping the publishing parts right now. Same way, let's save it. You can add dimensions. Now, dimensions are very useful. Let's say that you display the data, but you also want to be able to slice the data according to a specific customer, or you want to view tickets only in a specific week or a specific day. So in order to do that, all you need to do is to select the data from the data that you chose here. All these columns are available for you here, and then you just double click them. Let's say category. Okay, and in the category filter or dimension, you can say, do you want an explicit value, or you want to be able to choose values from a lookup table. And the lookup tables are something we're already familiar with. It's the well-known data model page. Okay, from here all you need to do is just to add a lookup table and continue as normal. Okay, Once you publish it, you'll be able to see something like this. You can see that we already have a customer name filter here. Yeah, very well. Okay, so now from this filter or this dimension, we can choose the customer name. So let's say I want to take to be able to view all the tickets that were opened by the customer Global Plaza, for instance. Okay, I can choose the Global Plaza from here, click the filter button, and very shortly, all the metrics here, all the dashboards here, will be refreshed with data about Global Plaza. The last thing that we need to mention here is the data filters. Okay, data filters are very useful because sometimes, as we said, you don't want to see the entire data. Okay, maybe you want to see, let's take this filter here. Let's add a condition, and let's say that we want to see all the categories, okay, that are not null. Okay, so if we have a ticket with a null, with no value in the category field, we don't want to see it being counted in our dashboards. So this is also a very useful way of manipulating the data. Okay. And then all that you need to do is go back to the visuals. Okay. And when you display tickets per category, for instance, you can set the filter by filter 1. And filter 1 is just, remember what we defined in here, categories that are not null. Okay. Basically, that's it. You publish it, and you're ready to go. Okay. Let's start again with all dashboards. I want to show you the end result that I expected that would be would happen in this webinar. So it's just working on it. See something like this. And you can go back and just can create all kinds of views. Okay. While this is working, let me show you another cool feature here in the analytics module. Drill downs. What if I wanted to be able to view all the tickets that are related to this customer, Global Plaza? Okay. All I need to do is to click this bar here, and automatically I get a new view that shows me all the tickets that are related with this customer. Now, if you pay close attention, you can also see that this view comes with pre-built filters. For each field, I have a filter that I can use and screen the information from. Okay, we will talk about these filters in a few moments as well. Okay, so we've discussed filters. We discussed the dimensions here. We discussed that it's possible to edit the limits and the colors here. We also showed how easy it is to create all those charts here. Okay, let's move on to what actually goes behind the scenes of the analytics system. So behind the scenes of the analytics system, once you click publish, few things are happening. Actually more than quite a few. The analytics feature take advantage of the well-known SSRS system, which is the Microsoft reporting system. It also takes advantage of SharePoint in a few ways. So on the SSRS side, Analytics creates a data set and generates RDL files. Okay, and all these files here are generated automatically by Sequence. So this is what defines all the data behind the charts. Now the charts are displayed on a SharePoint site. So what Sequence does is actually creates a new page for you. These are the pages that we saw earlier, and also configures the web parts to display the data. So it saves you a lot of work here. We also saw that it takes use of what we call a smart filter in the flow time grids. So the smart filters are actually not only in the analytics side. You can see it in other places, such as the inbox. Let me show you quickly. There you go. Let's say that we want to go to the inbox for a minute. And you see, now from this version 7.7, all the fields here are automatically pre-built with a custom filter. Let's say you can say, give me all the messages that I got that do not contain the word system. Okay. Just for instance, I don't know, for some reason it's very, very slow. Oh, sorry, to contain. I mean, does not contain. Filter. And there you go. Immediately, you get the message that was not sent from the system administrator. Okay. Let's continue and talk about in the analytics, there's one thing that I forgot to mention is actually I think one of the nice thing about the analytics is that you have extension possibilities. The analytics can be extended to custom stored procedures that you can create, or you can create your own data sets on the SSRS side and connect them to a chart web part, and so on and so on. So it's very customizable, and it's really easy to use and to create, and after a matter of a few minutes you already have analytics. Okay, let's continue to another key new feature that we have in 7.7. That would be the SharePoint integration. The SharePoint integration activities are something that we are very, very happy to present here. As you know, Sequence has been using CRM activities for quite a while. So all the recent releases of Sequence already presented the dynamic CRM integration activities. Now, what we know is that organizations also use the SharePoint very often. So dynamic CRM and SharePoint are very common with our customers. And now that we introduced SharePoint activities into Sequence, think of all the possibilities that you have now. Now Sequence can use workflows. You can create workflows in Sequence that actually take the power from both systems and adds a workflow logic. Let me give you an example just before we continue. Let me give you a very nice example. Let's say that you have a in the CRM you have contacts that start as leads, and after a while these contacts are become fully engaged customers. And just imagine that if all along this process, all the documents that were related to this contact are automatically loaded into SharePoint or placed into certain folders. It can be automatically checked in or checked out and be used in all kinds of approval forums, or just for litigation or financial purposes. Okay, so everything is kept in SharePoint, and everything is also managed within Sequence. So that opens up a whole new set of opportunities. Okay, I'm going to show you an example of how it looks like. So in order to do that, we prepared a demo for you again. Oh, for some reason, I lost the session, and now I'm back in. So this is just a demo workflow, a very simple workflow, just to show you how easy it is to work with the SharePoint activities. By the way, the SharePoint activities are located here at the bottom. And in this example, I can show you how it's possible to select a document and then upload it to SharePoint, check it out, check it in, and even create a calendar item in SharePoint. Okay, so let's run this process really quickly. Okay. So for the purpose of this demonstration, we're going to select a file, and then we're going to upload it to a library in SharePoint. Let me show you the library right here. I created a library. Actually, it's a document library called White Papers. Let's say that we are in an organization that collects white papers, which are normally requests for change, for process. So we already have in this directory 3 white papers, and we are going to upload a new one. Okay, let's see how it works. So let's say that in this workflow, I'm going to upload a new white paper number 4. It's uploaded by me, the system administrator. I can set a small, a short description, something like white paper for changing vendor type for let's say for engineers gloves. Okay. And the instruction would be something like requires a approval by the engineering department. I can also set a follow-up date. Let's say it will be a week from now at 2 p.m. I'm going to submit this. And while this is working in uploading the document, what it actually does, it connects to SharePoint and uploads the document. So if I'm buzzing back to the SharePoint site and refreshing the white papers library, you can see that I have a new document here, which I just uploaded a few seconds ago. Okay, I can also see the description that I wrote. See here the description that I wrote, who uploaded it right here, and so on and so on. Now what I can do is I can check out the document from the process. Let's do that. I'm submitting this task. And what happens if I refresh it is that now you can see the checked out icon is showing. So it is possible now for the user itself to discard the checkout or check it back in. But why not do it automatically as part of the process? Let's do a check-in here. Very good. So now if I go back, where was it? And refresh the list, I can see it's no longer checked out. And I can also create a calendar item. Remember, I set here the follow-up date to June 12th at 2 p.m. I'm going to submit it now. And what it actually does, go back here, it goes to another list that I have in SharePoint. That would be the production forum calendar. And you can see that on June 12th at 2 p.m., now we have a review of the white paper that we've just uploaded. This is a very useful thing. I think it's really nice, and I can show you also how to define the bindings. So for each of these SharePoint activities, all you need to do is to define bindings such as what is the document that you are uploading, everything that comes from the data model. What is the name of the list that you're uploading to? And you can also set parameters such as the description or uploaded by. Okay? And you have wizards for everything, and you have documentation of how to do it in our members site.
I just wanted to add, Sharon, if anyone has any questions, they're welcome to ask them in the questions widget. So please enter them there, and we'll try to field them at the very end of the webinar. We've got about 15 minutes left, Sharon, just so you're aware.
Yeah, we're almost done. Now, after we mentioned, some cool new features that actually can increase productivity for the users or for the business, let's talk about a few of the enhancements that were introduced to 7.7 that I think that actually will make the developers very happy. Things like enhancements we've done to the UX Studio. Okay, for example, let me show you an example of the UX Studio right here. Oh, the session is timed out. Okay, so there are quite a few things to notice here. This is the new look, a new look for the markup editor. As you can see, we have line numbers here, and now it's collapsible. So all the tags here can be collapsed, and it's easier to find your way around the markup. But what I think is the most coolest thing here is the IntelliSense feature. So it actually allows you to add all the HTML controls and ASP.NET tags that you can add. Okay, so let's say I want to add a div tag. Okay, it automatically creates a closure for this, and I just hit space, and look, the properties and attributes of this tag are automatically shown by the IntelliSense. And just by clicking the equal key, I get the enumerations here. So also, I think this is something that will the developers will benefit from this the most. Another nice feature that we have here in 7.7 is, let's close this. Cancel. is now that we added to the task, we added an option to set the due date by hours. Okay, let me show you it really quickly. So let's say I have a task here. So you can set the due date for this task is actually 5 hours. So it actually improves the way you can control the due dates for the tasks, or for very short tasks. Another nice thing that we added here to I think developers will like very much, let's open this case summary form, is something we call a quick access or quick edit access for the subview control. As most of you know, we are using subview controls quite a lot. For example, in here, this is actually a control that points to a view that exists in a different activity. So instead of going back to the designer and looking for that activity and opening it up and looking for the correct view, all I have to do now is click this smart pen here, click edit, and it automatically opens up the correct view for me for edit, and I can change anything I need here, save it, and then see it reflected here where I use it. All right, I think this is basically it. Where were we?
We do have some questions here.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Please sum up, and then we'll get to the questions.
For me, I'm basically done. This is most of the things that I wanted to show you here in this webinar. Of course, there are many more enhancements and new features, and you can read all about it in the release notes.
That's correct, Sharon. The release notes are available, of course, on our Knowledge Center, members.pnmsoft.com, in the downloads area. That's where you can also see the release itself. You can download it from there, and you can also read the release notes from there. And of course, for help with upgrades, please contact our support team. We have a few questions here. Rupert is asking, does the due date by hours take into account working hours? Sharon,
Yes.
do you know the answer to that one?
Yes,
Okay.
it does.
Okay. Johnny is asking, can I upload multiple files at the same time, I guess, to SharePoint?
Multiple ones, I don't think so. I'll need to check that.
Okay. Jonathan is asking, can you use SharePoint activities to connect to a SharePoint environment that is different from the FlowTime environment?
For the SharePoint activities,
you can
yes.
You can upload to any SharePoint environment, I believe.
Yes, as long as the user is running, I think it's the application pool, has permissions on that SharePoint environment, then yes.
Okay. We have one question. I'm not sure. This was from earlier in the webinar. I'm not sure you'll know exactly how to answer this one from Valley. How is the time not in chronological order? I'm not sure if you remember what that refers to, so maybe we'll have to take that afterwards. Are there any other questions? Okay. Well, Sharon, I want to thank you very much. That was a wonderful webinar, a great look into the new features of Sequence SP7, the analytics, very powerful feature for visual KPI, and adds lots of value to the BPM solution, and gives users, managers a great view on the process and bottlenecks and how to improve the process. Really, and just being able to put it together so quickly in a few clicks is very powerful. And then, of course, the enhanced SharePoint features of the integration with the SharePoint environment, being able to perform those very common and practical actions on a SharePoint list, uploading documents and so on, updating the list, being able to create workflows around that is very powerful as well. We do have one more question I see here from Jacob. can you do the reverse of uploading a SharePoint document? For example, creating an item in the App Studio that can pull from SharePoint and insert the document into a workflow. So can we download a document and then insert that into a workflow?
That's actually a good question. I believe it is possible, but it's something that needs to be, I don't think there's a ready-made option for this, but it is possible.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you very much all for participating. Thank you so much, Sharon. Oh, we're getting a couple more questions here. No, there's
Excellent.
mostly people just saying thanks. All right, so actually, we'll add in one more here. Fez is asking, can you please display the last slide again, the one before the questions? Let's try to accommodate him on that one. Be able to use the enhanced features. Of course, this is all available in the release notes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're welcome, Fez. Okay, well, thanks very much again. And this webinar will be available on our member site under the. If you look on the right side of the Knowledge Center, the member site, there's a link which says webinars, and that's where it will be available within, hopefully within the next 24 hours, if not at least by the beginning of next week. So thanks again all, and thank you, Sharon. Bye then.